Hello and welcome to the AHRI video update. I'm Nicole Snyder, the Communications Coordinator at AHRI, and with me today is Jim Walters, our Vice President of International Affairs. Today we're going to be talking about the ICARHMA meeting that happened last week that we reported on in the AHRI update. And this time around we want to talk about specifically what is ICARHMA and what is the value that AHRI finds by being a part of this organization.
Thank you, Nicole. ICARHMA is a council of associations similar to AHRI around the world. It stands for the International Council of Air Conditioning, Refrigeration, and Heating Manufacturers Associations. The manufacturers who belong to the 11 ICARHMA members account for about 90% of the world's heating and cooling manufacturing. So it's a rather substantial representation at the table. The ICARHMA as an organization was and remains dedicated to bringing together the industry and staff leaders of those 11 associations once a year, not for the purpose of doing standards and not for the purpose of doing research, but to bring them together to discuss from their perspectives the global issues or the local issues that they're facing that might affect others at some point. For example, if you look at the membership of ICARHMA, we're talking about members from Brazil, North America, Australia, China, 2 from the European Union, Canada, of course, in North America, Japan, Korea, India, and Colombia. It's a very substantial representation. The organization was started by what was then AHRI a number of years ago, and its value then and its value today is finding a neutral ground where the leadership can come forward from these organizations and learn from each other how to address problems that they in fact all might share in common. AHRI participates because it believes in that mission, and we are the secretariat of the organization.
And maybe can you touch on some of the specific priorities that AHRI and ICARHMA as a whole have been focusing on over the past couple months, and especially at this last meeting?
Well, it's very interesting. At each meeting we do a number of things, but one of the things we do is we ask each member to list their top 3 priority public policy or technical policy issues. Just that snapshot of those top 3 for each country gives us, for each association, gives us a sense of commonality or not about the forces impacting the industry globally. For example, right now the 2 major global issues are climate change and energy efficiency. If you looked at the list for all 11, somewhere in their list of top 3 would be some sort of reference to some subset of those 2 issues. In the case of AHRI, we listed as our number 1 issue regulatory reform. That is a very domestic issue that has to do with our efforts to urge Congress to reform the legislation that results in the regulation of our industry to provide a more efficient, productive regulation that inspires innovation among our members. In our list also included, and in the list of many others, is a very deep and interesting subject, and that is as the industry migrates under the Montreal Protocol from HCFCs, refrigerants, HFCs, to alternative refrigerants, it's very clear that there's an urgent need for specific training and education of the industry personnel who are going to be handling these alternative refrigerants. Virtually all of these alternative refrigerants are either flammable at some level or toxic. That marks a different situation for both the suppliers and the consumers, and in that respect, AHRI told the other ICARHMA members at the meeting recently in Australia that it was part of a funding of a $5 million risk assessment program to look at the risk associated in using those alternative refrigerants.
Well, thanks so much for talking with us today, Jim.
It's my pleasure.
And please stay tuned for the next AHRI video update.